So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Evening, everyone. Afternoon, good night, whatever you want to call it, everybody. It is 31st of January, transfer deadline day. And myself and Paddy just decided we pop on to see maybe there might be Mustafa Salifu lurking out there from some Lithuanian third division team that might be coming towards Aston Villa tonight. And hopefully we'll be on to catch lightning in a bottle. But no, I'm only joking. I suppose we just wanted to pop on to have a quick word, have a quick look, and look, I suppose, the transfer window as a whole, and I suppose discuss not just Aston Villa, but also some other transfers that have gone down, and maybe try and figure out who's had the best transfer window of all. But before we do that, Paddy, you're back.
I'm back.
You're back.
Was I gone long? It felt like I'm gone a long time.
Is it 2 weeks? Could be 2 weeks, Paddy.
Could be. Working hard. What can you do?
Hard. Yeah. It's contrary to popular belief. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I don't think anyone can work during transfer window month. You know, it's tough work. It is. It's tough work to try and work when transfer window month is on, because what I find it anyway. And you know what? I'm going to be really honest. I'm going to miss it. I always do, and I'm going to miss seeing something at 10 o'clock from Fabrizio Romano or from whoever from Villa Report, and then going, oh, balls, I have to go out now and I have to do up a fucking stat sheet now for this fella, just in case he signs, so I have it ready to do a video. But I'm going to miss doing that.
Don't be telling lies. This is your favorite month of the year. You love all.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but like I love it. Like I absolutely love it, and I'm gonna miss doing that. But like I think what it is like, but there's still, when you're panned out on the couch and you've got one leg in the air and you've got, you know, and you're going, oh, the effort now to try on the shoes, go to the podcasting boudoir and to rattle through some statistics for the next 45 minutes, and then you do it, and then you're going, you know what, that's actually quite good, because I didn't know how good that guy was. I didn't know how he compared to this person or whatever. And you know what, I might continue to do it over the course of the season. Bit of crack. You know, if you guys want it, let me know, and we can do comparisons, and we can maybe look at who would be a good fit. And you never know, I might catch lightning in a bottle. And the reason I talk about that is because we very nearly did, Paddy. We were this close to getting Rodrigo Bentancur. This close. Me just mentioning it in a podcast, and all of a sudden, boom, we're coming into existence. But it never happened. Never happened.
Regardless of who it was, I think that's the only disappointment of this transfer window. Is like this transfer window, the last one, the one before. I don't know how long most Villa fans are talking about getting a proper central defensive midfielder in there. I don't mean proper is the wrong word. You know, a tried and trusted central defensive midfielder, and be that backup to Marvelous or to, you know, upstage Marvelous and let Marvelous be the backup, whatever it is. We've been crying out for that for the last few transfer windows. It's quite obvious Steven Gerrard wants Douglas Luiz to play higher up the pitch. So I'm a little bit baffled that it hasn't been done. But look, I'd rather we get the right man in the summer than get another fix for this one. So, yeah, it's been a strange few days waiting to see what would happen, and a little bit annoying that Spurs got him today. It is what it is. We'll move on. We just got to trust whatever we have now, because it doesn't look like we're going to bring in anything else. I kind of zoned out the last couple of days because I have a guy who sends me everything, and then I have you, Neil, that sends me everything. So I decided to turn off notifications as much as I could because I was just so bloody busy. So yeah, it was a great first half of the transfer window, quiet second half, but let's face it, what we've brought in is absolute class.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that, and I suppose we'll go back and we look at everything. But I suppose just to kind of address the Bentancur piece, I know, well, I'm going to say yeah, look, I've got it on quite good authority that we were very, very close on it. Not that I know much, not that I know anything. It's nothing to do with getting anything from Villa, but having good authority, we were really close. And I also have good authority that Antonio Conte walks on water in around Turin and in Italian football in general. Around the 10, I think we lost our camera there, Paddy, somehow. But around Turin in general, and I think that had a lot to do with Bentancur going to Spurs. That it was, look, we're going to get out pulled by some people, and that's fine. That's fine for where we are in the project at the moment, and we're going to have pull for other players. Like Coutinho comes to Aston Villa because of the pull of Steven Gerrard, and then yes, conversely, Antonio Conte has the pull for Rodrigo Bentancur, and that's cool. That's okay. That's not a negative. That's not negative on Aston Villa or anything. That's just where we are in our process at the moment. Yeah. And to be honest
look,
with you, I'm pretty okay with it.
Knowing how Spurs do their business, chances are this guy is probably gone on less wages than he would have got at Aston Villa. I would bank on that this wasn't about money for him. So I think it's time that we draw a line under it, because people like that you're just not going to compete with. I have no doubt in my mind that our owners and Steven Gerrard, if they really wanted him, would have paid more than what Daniel Levy is paying. So we were never going to get there in the first place. He'd made his mind up. He was going with Conte, and that was it.
I'm actually more impressed by their other signing today, Kulusevski, who less than 18 months ago was seen as the new wonder kid to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. And then all of a sudden, boom, once again, you look at 3 managers and 4 managers in 4 years. 3 managers in 3 years. 2 managers in 2 years because he was at Parma. And then all of a sudden, he's at Spurs on an 18-month loan with an option to buy. And they couldn't get him out the door quick enough because they wanted to get in. Now, granted, look, there's context in this. They're going to have to balance the books to get in an absolute titan in Dusan Vlahovic. But at the same time, I think that if Alvaro Morata decides to go back to Atletico and doesn't stay, that Kulusevski stays at Juve as well. But now he's gone, and he's gone to Spurs, and I think he's going to be a pretty good player for Spurs because I think he's going to suit the Premier League a small bit more. But saying that, as I say, that's once again, I think that's another one whereby Italian football absolutely loves Conte, and there's going to be, like, if you're in that echo chamber, if you're in that world or that league, they're going to revere him as high as any other manager in world football because of what he's done in Serie A over the last however so long. And it's going to be very tough to pull from there. And as I said, that I'm okay with that. I don't really mind losing out on Rodrigo Bentancur, and I think that Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard said it, and when someone tells you something, believe them, because he said it. He goes, look, unless the right person is there, we're not just going to buy panicky. And they obviously wanted Bentancur. They couldn't get him, and they didn't panic, and they didn't buy someone else. And as has been reported today, and a couple of people have it in the comments there, and we're going to get to some comments in a moment. Bissouma was linked again today, but everybody knows my views on Bissouma. I just never felt we were going to plunk up 50 million on any player. Never mind he's Bissouma. And I still stand by, if we are going to spend 50 million on a player, that you could get players better than Bissouma, and that's not saying Bissouma is bad, but I think we will go back in for him in the summer once more. And actually, I'll retract my statements of, if you're going to spend 50 million, you get players better than Bissouma. How's about I put it this way? You can get players as good as Bissouma for less money. How's about I put it that way? Because that's actually what I meant, not about the 50 million. Okay, my mind goes a bit skew sometimes. But I think we'll go back in for him in the summer, Bissouma. Or I think that, like, the murmurings and everything that are there are pretty clear where we're going to be focusing our energy is going to be in that midfield area over the summer.
There's an awful lot of negativity on Twitter or whatever about Bissouma, and that's perfectly understandable with the cloud that's hanging around him at the moment. So I think we're right, if we're going to sign him, to let that run its course before we go spending that kind of money. That's why I could never see it happening from day one. 1st of January, I couldn't see it happening. So my money was actually on Boubacar Kamara, because I think we would have got him at a nice price. It was a worthwhile gamble. I think if Bentancur, I don't know what price they put on him. Was it 40 million today? I heard somebody say.
Who? Bentancur?
Yeah.
19 million plus 6.
19 plus, that's decent money. Like, we probably would have got Boubacar Kamara for less than that. So that was my thinking behind it. But anyway, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, look, but look, we can't sign them. Well, that's not to say we can't sign. There's an hour and 15 minutes left in the window, and Glenn Kamara can sign up until there's only 50. Is it 11 o'clock? No, it's midnight for Scotland. So keep on watching Sky Sports. They're gonna keep you watching until 12 o'clock just to make sure Glenn Kamara doesn't find his way down from Rangers to a medical around Birmingham somewhere.
I thought that's why we were on. For the last minute time.
Well, no, I told you that we're going to go straight through until the 8th of February because that's when the Turkish transfer window closes and Trezeguet might be going to that Istanbul Başakşehir that I can never pronounce team. So we have to go. If we're going to cover it, we're going to cover it, Paddy. So you're in for the long haul in this one. But yeah, and I suppose just going back onto the Basuma thing. Like the summer is going to be huge for an awful lot of things, I think, for this club. And I think we've been smart. Actually, we can tie in the two about the deals that we've done on the incoming side. Because I do want to go through the outgoing side as well that we've had. And I know everyone wants us to talk about Matty Targett, and we will. But there's also other things as well. And I think the strategy of how we've let players go, I've got a bit of a contrary to what a lot of people think about that as well. But on the Basuma piece, and coming to the summer, there's a lot of decisions to be made. Like, do we keep Coutinho? Do we spend the 30 million on Coutinho? Like, I think that's actually, the more I think about it, the more that I'm okay with a loan to buy option on him, because I think we will exercise the buy option on him. But now I can't wait until the Leeds game to see how he actually plays, because we've seen 60 minutes of him at Everton, where he was only all right, and we saw 15 minutes of him, 20 minutes of him at United, where he was really, really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next 4 or 5 games of him, and that's to really get a view of him.
With him, we do need to take a spread of games, because you couldn't really judge him on the Everton game the way they actually choked the game out of there, and he just couldn't find any space or room. So he had plenty of room against the inferior Man United, but you didn't get any space against the defensive-minded Everton, who are much better drilled and much better in the fight to cope with the likes of him. So it will be interesting over the next few games. I'm looking forward to getting over there and seeing him in person.
Yeah, and I suppose when we look at it, Lucas Digne's come in and arguably put up 2 man a match performances for us from the left back position, created an awful lot more going forward at the left back position than we've seen from the left back position, I'd say, nearly ever at Aston Villa, going back to Alan Wright, Steve Staunton, that type of left back, and that's not belittling Matt Targett. It's just it's just a fact. It's what you see on the field, Digne is a much more progressive player in going forward and creating chances and shot creating actions and stuff like that. And we've seen it in the 2 games, which is fantastic. Like it's positive, Yeah. I'm actually going to quote and say it. We've improved our team immeasurably over the course of this transfer window. Actually, I was just watching Sky Sports News Inside, and they had 3 people sitting on a couch, and they said who had the best transfer window of all. And Cave said Liverpool, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not even quite 100% sure did he even give it any thought, because Liverpool bought 1 player. Yes, he's a very good player, but I'm not quite sure he gave it any thought. And the other 2 people said Villa.
I'm not sure Cave gives anything any thought, to be honest. He just keeps spouting.
I don't mind him. I know he's a divisive type of character, and I know he's had some Twitter battles and stuff like that. But look, he is what he is, and he's there every day and stuff like that. But and Liverpool did buy a banger of a player, but Villa have improved, I think, more than any other team in the league. And that's a fair thing to say, Yeah. And like we've spoken about Digne and Coutinho. Like Callum Chambers, remember, Paddy, do you remember when we signed Tyrone Mings? Did you think Tyrone Mings was going to go on and captain our club, play for England, and play centre half for this club? Maybe the centre half part you probably did, but did you? Did you really think that when we signed him on loan in the Championship?
I certainly did not. Did not. He's come a long way since then, and if you want to go down the road of Callum Chambers, I'm actually pretty excited about having him there. And I don't mean that in a Philip Coutinho kind of way. I just think he's going to be a decent player to have around the side. He's youngish. Probably hasn't played enough football for my liking over the last few years. It's probably since he was at Fulham. So I don't expect to see him week in, week out, but he's a decent footballer. He's a great passing range. Very cool and calm on the ball. There's a lot to be said for what we're after getting in that deal. A player that has played a lot of time at central midfield, can play right back, although I wouldn't be too comfortable with it. Plus, he's a backup centre half, and that was something we needed as well. So to bring a player of that caliber in for free, admittedly, the wages are probably more than you would expect for a backup player, but I'm sure that's offset against not having to pay a fee for him.
Yeah, and look, guys, I haven't even checked the comments, but I'm sure someone is saying, Neil, you can't compare Callum Chambers to Mings. Well, the reason I did that was because Mings was coming off 2 very bad injuries. And also the fact that question time with Paddy. Paddy, give me off the top of your head, ballpark, how many Premier League games do you think Tyrone Mings had played before he joined Aston Villa?
Very, very few.
That's not a number, Paddy. I'm going to have to ask you for a number.
Did he even have any?
He did.
10? I don't know.
17 over 1, 2, 3, 4 over 4 seasons for Bournemouth. He played 1 in 15-16, 7 in 16-17, 4 in 17-18, and 5 in 18-19. Then he joined us in the Championship where he played 15 games. And since then he's played 33, 36, and 18. And the reason I'm getting at that is that, you know, it's kind of systems and kind of catching lightning in a bottle. Mings has gone through has he gone through 3 managers? Was he signed by Steve Bruce? No, he wasn't. He was signed by Dean Smith. He's signed by Dean Smith. But he's gone through 2 managers. And what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, Dean Smith brought him in, and Dean Smith had a vision for him to play centre half and got the best out of him. You know, he squeezed the juice out of him that made him into the player he is now. And whether you like him or not, or whether you think he's a liability, or whether you want to, you know, get into the TikToks about him passing the ball out over the line and stuff like that, and or whatever you think of Tyrone Mings. Tyrone Mings had played 17 Premier League games prior to that, prior to joining us, and now he has played. I'm just trying to do a quick tot up here in my head. 87 Premier League games for Aston Villa, and he's gone on to win however many England caps that he's won. So, as 16 England caps, by the way. So what I'm saying is that here is Callum Chambers only needs a chance, and look, let's just say that is reinvigorating himself or reinventing himself as a defensive midfielder. Maybe that's what he needs to do, because Tyrone Mings was a left back.
It's a very good comparison, because, you know, they're two similar, albeit one is right-footed. They're similar type players. Obviously, he's not as big as Mings, but with regard to trying to resurrect your career, it's exactly the same move as Mings had 3.5 years ago, or whatever it was, or 3 years ago. So there's actually a really, really good comparison. So I think if he goes on to do what Mings did, I think we'll be looking at a really good player there.
Callum Chambers has never played outside the Premier League. And that's not a barometer of anything. That's not a barometer of anything to go by. I'm sure if I was to type in Neil Redfern and how many Premier League starts he has, he probably has over 100, you know. And look, Neil Redfern, fine player back in the 90s or whatever, but he was never going to get a sniff of anything, you know, with the likes of Barnsley and Bradford and the like. Was
it Premier League that he played with Fulham when he was Player of the Year?
Premier League for Fulham, Player of the Year, 31 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 2018-19.
And if memory serves me correct, most of those were at central midfield.
They were. I don't have the breakdown here. I don't have. I could get it, but it'd take me 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'd actually go as far as saying they were all at central midfield. I could be wrong there, but that's my recollection of it.
Yeah. And well, look, as I say, we're not expecting him to tear up trees, but all I'm saying is that, like, if he was to come in for 10 games this season, or if he was to come on in 10 games or have 10 appearances, let's just say, over the course of the rest of the league season, and he contributes for a free transfer. It's a no-brainer. It kind of speaks for itself.
I can't highlight those comments anymore. But can you see Johnny Fitz's comment there at the end?
Can you not highlight him? Chambers a safe signing, cost nothing, coming in at an ideal age for a defender, but likely not getting into the starting team. Yeah, I agree.
I think that summed it up in a few words.
Yeah. There's another one here, guys. We'll actually go to some comments and then we'll come back to our own murmurings, because I feel like I'm having a chat with Paddy here, which is fine too. Misha says saw Stafford Chambers. He had the most interceptions per 90 when playing defensive midfield for Fulham. I don't know. I'm sure. What's this about? I'm not sure. I'm sure he's won a couple of FA Cups.
Anyway.
Chambers? Oh, yes. Yeah, he has. Yeah. Dan Lane says Callum had a loan at Middlesbrough. Yeah, and Middlesbrough, that was 16-17. Were they in the Premier? They were in the Premier League, I think, 16-17, 5 years ago.
No, they haven't been for years. Maybe that was the one time he stepped out of it. Could be wrong.
Wikipedia, just have his Wikipedia up in here, and Wikipedia says he played in the Premier League that time, 24 games in the Premier League. I don't know. Let's see what else we have. I'm going to go back up to the top because I feel like I've missed loads. Cloudy with a chance of UFOs says, can't believe we've loaned our target to Newcastle, to be honest. The direct rival. Thought we were getting some squad depth going. Disappointed that we haven't done a deal for a backup central defensive midfielder today as well. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that when we speak about the outgoings. Aurelio says, say Newcastle are a direct rival of Villa, sort of does Villa down. We're not in a relegation battle. We're looking up. Second half of the season, finished 10th or above. AJ, once again, I'm going to get to this because this is an interesting one as well. We really need to do better at selling players, because this loan and running players' contracts down thing is not sustainable. I don't know about that. I just have a take on it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just have a take on it. And I have a take on the league as well, where the league is coming from with this, because if you look throughout the course of the league today, there wasn't a lot of money, massive money spent outside of even Newcastle didn't spend massive money today. They bought Dan Burn for 13 million. They loaned in Matty Target, and they didn't get your man, the young fella from Stade Rem or whatever it's called. They didn't do massive. They couldn't get Jesse Lingard, So Newcastle, like, if we're going to say a left back and a big tall left back that they're going to play a centre half, are really going to bolster them. And who's to say they don't pip somebody before the end of the end of the window? And we will bring that to you. I suppose someone's going to need to tell me if someone signs anyone, because my phone's just gone dead. I make a shit with Fabrizio Romano because my phone has just gone dead.
We'll go back to the comment that was made by that ex-Ireland international about how hard it was to attract people to Newcastle. I guess he was kind of right when you look at what they've signed. With the amount of money they have and the wages they'd probably look to pay people. So. Yeah, it's been a bad window for them, unless they go absolutely bonkers in the last 62 minutes that they have left to sign players. And it wouldn't surprise me 1 minute if we see a couple of panic boys, or one bit, I'd say, if you see a few panic boys from Newcastle.
Middlesbrough were in the Premier League in 16-17. In your face! In your face. They got relegated with Hull and Sunderland. I have no recollection of that. I have no recollection of them actually being in the Premier League. Thought I was banged to rights there with that, but they were in the Premier League. Apparently, they went 16 matches without winning. I have no idea who their manager would have been then either Karanka. I nearly need to find out, but I don't want to go clicking there because we're in the middle of a podcast and that's unprofessional. This is a nice one. This is a good one. Yeah. So lest we forget as well that not just the incoming signings that we did, but tying players down. Big business. Big business. This was Emmy, arguably our biggest signing of all. Outside of Emmy. I did it again, didn't I? I can never get my left and right correct in this. But outside of signing Coutinho, who, let's be honest ourselves, is our biggest signing, I suppose. Our most long-reaching signing would have to be Emi Martinez, considering how much we've locked him up, how long we've locked him up for now, considering the value the contract at that length will bring, And the fact that literally when he signed it, and I know we've had people sign it and say that they love the club and that they love where the club is going, and next thing 6 weeks later feck off to Man City. But Henry Martinez, spoke very, very highly as well, and all that stuff kind of counts. So fair play on that one as well. Skate says, surprised we loaned out Matt Target and Steer. I agree with you above though. 7.5 seems reasonable. I don't mind holding out until the summer to get to go big and essential defensive midfielder. I think Steven Gerrard and Johan Lange and all those were the same, because I think maybe Nakamba is a bit closer to coming back than maybe we think. I've nothing to base that on. Haven't seen it or read it anywhere. But I think I did remember somebody said that he would be back late February, start of March. And maybe they're pinning their hopes on that for him to be back.
Well, you got to think so. And to be fair, you got to give him a chance too, because he was exceptional when Gerrard came in first. So
yeah,
I think I remember saying before he got injured that he was the one that benefited the most from Steven Gerrard in those first few games. So the system, imagine how much time he's going to have with the likes of Coutinho and Buendia in front of him. He'll be nearly drinking a cup of tea and lighting a fag while he's doing it.
I'd pay money to see Marvelous Nakamba smoking a fag. I don't know why. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. Could you imagine him there? He just lights up a Rothmans in the middle of the field and just starts puffing away. I don't know why. I find himself and Douglas Luiz sitting down on 2 deck chairs watching Coutinho and Emi Buendia pass it around between each other up top. That would be funny. Owen Bradley says, I'm pleased with our business. I think we can now get the defensive midfielder we want in the summer. Would have preferred it to be now, but the deal isn't right. What can you do? This is a good point. You can't plug. Well, you can, but I think it's so pivotal that we get the right person to play defensive midfielder, or the right type of person. And I think Bentancur could have been that person. So don't get me wrong. Like, if we'd signed him, I would probably be here in, I don't know, Braveheart face paint, running around the place like an absolute lunatic at the moment. But I think it's important. And I think if the person isn't there for defensive midfielder, I think you do kind of wait for him. And look, there will come, like, I know that could come back and bite you in the arse. And then so what happens if the right person is never there? You're going to have to get off the pot and sign someone at some stage. But I think it's pivotal, and I think it is pivotal to how the team plays to get the right defensive midfielder in there, because I don't think that you've got 4 or 5 shots. As in, what I mean by it is that teams to sell on a defensive. So let's just say you go away. Okay, I'm going to use Basuma for 50 million as an example here. Now, don't get me wrong. My preface to this is I know Basuma is a good player. Okay, I really do. I know he's a really good player, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but let's say we bought him for 50 million and he flopped in our system. We are never getting even a morsel of that 50 million back, because he's a defensive midfielder. Whereas if you go away and you buy an attacking midfielder or a striker and they flop, you can still get some sort of money back on them, because people think that they can retool these guys and get them into a system. Attacking midfielders and wingers particularly, and you can get money back on them. Whereas, like, really defensive midfielders, you're only as good as your last game, because it's an unsexy. It's the most unsexy position in the field. And I think that getting the right one is pivotal. And I would love one. I would have loved one. As I say, I'm pinning my colours to the mast. I would love Bentancur. I would love. Everybody knows my crush is on Czech Doucouré, but they didn't come in. So I think if you're going to sit back, it's been 3 years now waiting for a defensive midfielder, mind as well. So it's been 3 years, but what I would say is it's 3 years of evolution of this team as well. So I think the summer is going to be heavily dominated by that type of player, a six coming into the team, just like the last few weeks have been as well. And I'm very much of that opinion as well, that I would have preferred it now. I think we all would, because we're all impatient. Human nature is to be impatient. But if we have to wait until the summer for the right person, well, then so be it. And I'm very confident 3 years of waiting will probably be over in this summer. That's how confident I'll be for a defensive midfielder. But yeah, a couple of people ranking it 7 out of 10 seems to be the going rate for the window so far. Anybody else want to put in a ranking for the window for what they think the window is there in in the comments before we get on to the outgoings of players, so the players who've left the club. Anyone want to give a rating? I've seen a lot of 7 out of 10, 7.5, 7.5 out of 10. There's a one that I think will get people off their seats. I reckon we might try for Phillips this summer. That would be ambitious. I think if we're trying for Phillips, I think so is half of Europe. And that's not to say we couldn't entice him, but I think if any other club got the sniff that we were trying to sign Phillips, I think that there would be Brinks trucks speeding to Yorkshire to try and unload their wares upon his doorstep.
Yeah, it's definitely one we'd all love to have, but
absolutely,
whether we'd have that opportunity to do it, who knows?
Absolutely. Any more of them there? 7 out of 10. I just go down here. 6 out of 10. Stevie says 6 out of 10. 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Yeah, so somewhere around 7.5 out of 10, I think, is where it's coming from. I
think that's about fair.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. We'll get on to the people that went out, but I think that's the only thing that's dragging it down for me. I've said what I've said about that defensive midfielder. If it wasn't right, there was no point in bringing in a stopgap, so I was okay with that. A little bit disappointed with today, but we'll get to that in a while.
We'll get to that. So, a couple of people went out the door today. And actually, do you know what? I'm going to start with the person that I'm probably the most disappointed has gone out, and I shouldn't be at all, because I thought maybe as Rodrigo Bentancur was going to Juventus, that maybe Callum Chambers might be that defensive midfielder, and it might I'll be able to sit here tonight and go, yeah, well, he's going to be there, and this is what people see him as, and he's going to be that auxiliary defensive midfielder. But now he's covering 3 positions. But I thought Caden Hessler, I was disappointed to see him go out to MK Dons, but I was also happy to see him go to MK Dons at the same time, because I thought to myself, listen, he would be adequate right back cover. And yes, if he wasn't performing, we could always push Chambers in there or push Chambers back in there. But then maybe we would get a clearer vision that maybe Chambers is being used in that defensive midfielder. And it would tie up a lot of questions, because I wrote earlier on that, it's a good transfer window, but yes, there are questions. But you name me a club in this Premier League that do not have questions over their team at this moment in time, including Manchester City. People are asking about Man City about why they spent £100 million on a player that can't even get in the field, which is absolutely a mental question to ask, because they just literally accumulated the best talent probably in Europe. But anyway, that's completely for a different conversation. But for me, the questions are, and getting Caden Hessler out to play games is obviously the reason why they sent him out on loan. But he wouldn't have taken up a space in the 25. And it wouldn't have left us having one player covering potentially 3 positions in Callum Chambers, right back and centre midfield and centre back, although I don't believe he's going to be a defensive midfielder. And we wouldn't be left with Matty Taggart going out, with Ashley Young having to cover left back, central midfielder, number 10 position. And that's kind of what annoys me a small little bit, is that we're like, one player would have tied up 2 more positions there and would have allowed us. Yes, I like the versatility the players have, but it's just the nature of having to depend on a 37-year-old to cover 3 positions and have to depend on a 27-year-old who has played sparingly over the course of the last 6 years in the league to cover another 3 positions. For me, it's a question. It's not a negative. It's just a question, I think, more so than anything else.
Yeah, I'm not overly disappointed. I think Gerrard has had him for a few weeks. He's been able to see him in training, and he'd obviously decided he was going out. I'm a little bit disappointed he brought him back, because he was having the time of his life at Swindon. He was loved, and I think that's important as a young footballer. I hope MK Dons treat him with the same respect. MK Dons is a brilliant club, run exceptionally well. I think Aurelio Gomez mentions it there. A lovely stadium. It's a nice place to play football, but the standard of football isn't the best. I watched them recently. I think it was an FA Cup game. So, look, I hope he goes there and gets the same kind of love and the same kind of respect that he got at Swindon, because I think that's vital for his development. And obviously goes and tears up the same days that he did at Swindon.
That's it. Yeah, and he has gone up a league. That's a good point. He's gone up a
Mm.
league as well, which is good for him. And he will get time there at MK Dons. No, look, I don't completely understand why he's gone out on loan. Like that's as obvious as the nose in my face. But you see, as I say, just for the questions for our own squad, when he didn't come towards the 25, we could have kept him around, developed him. We could have developed him here. Yes, he mightn't have got the game time, but for me, it's the what if and the mitigation factors of what's going to happen. Now, here I am selling somebody like a Hayden Lindley short, or maybe like a young Tim short. Maybe they really believe that Tim can do a job in defensive midfielder. And I know we haven't seen him play, but like it's. If he's only an auxiliary player that comes in for 2 or 3 games or whatever like that, it's, he was so highly thought of at West Brom that last year in the relegation season, they wanted him to play. They wanted him to play like 10 matches into the season. They wanted him to play, and he's a year older now, and he's a year bulked up, but he's stronger and stuff. So maybe there is something there. Maybe there's something there that we're not thinking of.
Yeah, and look, it's vital for the development of a player like Kessler to go and play football, and that's my worry, that he goes up a league and doesn't play as much football. I didn't get a chance to have a look at what they have in their squad, so I'm presuming he's going there.
Phil, and I'll tell you. Talk more about him there, and I'll tell you.
Just a little bit about like young Tim, as we call him, a rugby them.
Yeah.
You'd have to think he has something about him that he hasn't been sent out on loan, because you would imagine that a guy that was constantly in Gerrard's first team squad is definitely got to be considered to go somewhere on loan. So he obviously sees something in him to keep him there. So I've seen him a number of times at underage or under 23s or whatever. He looks like a decent player. Unfortunately, that under 23s team is a little bit ragged. They're beaten again tonight. They just can't put a settled team out on the pitch, so that seems to be hampering them a little bit. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Kessler isn't there as backup, but I think it's important that he plays football for his development. He's still a little bit raw. Remember, we had this conversation before, flying into tackles, getting caught out of position, all out attack at times, as we saw in the FA Cup, the Youth FA Cup final. So look, Gerrard knows best. But that's not the one that annoys me the most today.
Just on MK Dons have a nice little team. It's like they're a young team. They're actually a really, really young team. I think like they're tiny. They have a tiny squad. But it's an interesting one. He will get options. He will get game time at MK Dons. But just on a completely selfish note, I completely forgot that they'd signed Conor Coventry on loan from West Ham, being an Irish under 21, and obviously they've got Troy Parrott there as well. So interesting one there.
A good young team. I once woke up in that stadium. I like telling that story, but there's actually a hotel in the stadium. But dropped my bag in the room, went to a sales conference, got drunk, woke up the next morning and realised that when I stepped out of my room, I was actually in a corporate box.
All right.
So it was one of those stadiums that they built a hotel into.
Yeah. Pete Winkleman making as much money as he possibly can, renting out the corporate boxes. Yeah, so look, I suppose let's talk about Jed Steer as well. Jed Steer gone to Luton. I think the writing was always on the wall there with regards to a loan move for Jed Steer. It is interesting though, because Steven Gerrard did say that he wanted 3, or maybe it was rumored, he said, because I don't think he ever said it in a press conference at any stage, any time, that he wanted 3 senior goalkeepers at the club. Obviously, he doesn't, but they've brought in Robin Olsen. So Steer has gone out to Luton. I wonder, does Steer ask to get game time? It wouldn't surprise me. But he's gone to Luton. I wish him all the best there at Luton, and I hope he does his very best there for them, and gets a lot of game time. But obviously the Matty Targett one, Paddy. Matty Targett is gone to Newcastle today. They kind of started a break yesterday, and then all of a sudden it happened. And it was like broke yesterday and woke up this morning. It was a given. He was gone. It was a case of, look, this is going to happen. Talk to me about that one, because there's a lot on Twitter about him pushing for a move, not having the stomach for the fight. I think there's a bit more nuance to this than that in some way, shape,
And
or
like,
form. I don't know enough about it though.
I find it hard to believe that if he was pushing for a move, it would be in the public domain unless one of the coaches have said it. Because surely that's a conversation you'd be having privately in the manager's office. I don't buy into that, but I do worry that if Luca Dean was to pick up suspensions or get, heaven forbid, injured, touch wood, it won't happen. But we're light at left back. I thought the whole purpose was to bring someone in to challenge Matt Targett. We've obviously brought someone in who's an upgrade on Matt Targett. I would have hoped he had the stomach for the fight. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he was forced out. Who knows? Absolutely no way are we going to find out.
Thanks very much in your head, Change Man. Change, and he asked a question there actually, which is quite pertinent to what we're discussing there. Are you slightly worried about Dini's defending? He's great going forward, but his tackling has been a bit suspect in the games he's played so far. And I don't think I've come away from any game going thinking that he's been poor in defense. Really, he is great going forward, but I don't think he's been poor in defense either. And that's been up against Manchester United, and
bear in mind when I mentioned talking about him missing games, I mentioned suspensions first before I mentioned injuries, which I think is more likely that he picks up a suspension because he does fly into tackles. And you know what? I'm okay with that as long as he's not giving away scoreable free kicks or penalties. So he is my type of defender. I like him, but quite rash in the tackle. And he's not going to change at this stage of his career.
No. And the Maddie Targett one, I don't know enough. I'm not going to wade into the whole did he have the stomach for the fight or whatever. I'm not going to wade into that. Look, to be honest with you, players should play football. You know, players should want to play football. And if that's away from Aston Villa, I don't have a bad word to say about Maddie Targett.
I don't have a bad word to say about him either. I'm more worried.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I'm only worried about our backup. And
that's exactly it.
If he's willing to come and fight for his position, he should have been kept there. And that's the only reason I would think, yeah, he probably asked to go to play football because he knows that there's a lot of love there for Luca Dean and he's not going to overthrow him.
I think you'd have to make you'd have to draw the line between A and B and that very, very easily. You know, this isn't something that Steven Gerrard went and Johan Lang went, yeah, Matty, you know what? You're not part of it. Off you go. I think this is a case of, you know what, I'm 26 years of age. And I've played pretty regularly in the Premier League. If I start being a bench player, I might not regain a Premier League place for any other team. And I think maybe, look, as I said, he had to look after number one. And he's gone on loan. Who's to say he won't be back? I don't know if there was any obligation to buy. Some people said there was. Some people said there wasn't. You know, yeah, in an ideal world, we want everyone to fight for their place. But I think I'm okay with Matty Targett moving on to Newcastle United because I think he's done enough for us to go with my blessing, considering that he's pretty much nailed down that left back position for the last 3 years, last 2.5 years. And yeah, he's, you know, we've brought in Luca Dean, you know, so like if we brought in somebody who I wasn't convinced is a better left back than Matty Targett, I'd be a bit more pissed off. But as you said, I'm just not sure where I see the minutes for Matty Targett this year. So I can completely understand him being selfish and wanting to move. And I don't have anything. I don't see anything wrong with it myself. Yeah, look, ideally we want him to stay, but it weakens us. And as I said, I don't like the idea of Ashley Young playing back towards our defense at all, whether it be left back or right back. And I've been vocal about that. I just about stomach him playing left back. Certainly not right back, but now we're in a position where, because Matty Targett is gone, where he's covering now 3 positions, the Ashley Young piece, and that's where I'm uncomfortable in that aspect of him covering those 3 positions, because I'd prefer to see him much further up the field, and now we have the potential where he's our fill-in left back as well, and for me, I don't like it. I could be wrong.
There is a comment there from Seb Blackmore. I don't know whether you can see it there. It's one of the last ones.
Check Targett's comments today. Villa accepted the loan without speaking to him. Didn't see that.
No, if that's what happened,
If that's true,
you go
yeah.
back, you go back to the comments where Stephen Gerrard was saying that people weren't up for the fight, and that would, if that's what he said, that would suggest to me that Gerrard has already nailed his colours to the mast with Target and said, okay, you can go on loan because you're not getting in here by any stretch of the imagination. So that's the only thing. If those comments are true and that's what he said, that's the only thing I can think of.
I know I can read it, Seb. I just haven't seen it yet. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'm not going to pause it for 20 minutes while I go and read it. And yes, it will take me 20 minutes to read the article. I can read it. I will go and read it now. I haven't seen it yet.
And
that's all I'm saying.
Seb, it makes absolute sense.
It does. Yeah. Look, if that's why I'm saying I don't mind him going. That's why I'm not saying he's good for the fight. Yeah. I don't know.
He obviously somebody else in mind that can play left back, and I just it just baffles me that we've let him go because of the backup, and I hope we don't need it.
Exactly. Yeah. So best of luck, Matt. Matt Target at Newcastle. As I say, he goes with my blessing. I prefer him to stay around, but he goes with my blessing. For sure, and what that matters, probably fuck all, because.
And I tell you what, we're going to find out very quickly if he has a stomach for a fight, because they're in a fight there. They have to fight their way out of this. So maybe that's a learning exercise for Stephen Gerrard to go and let him go and see what he's made of. Maybe he sees he might only get to 1 or 2 games should anything happen with Luca Dean. So let him go and fight. See what happens.
Absolutely. Other people have left over the course of the transfer window, Paddy. Anwar El Ghazi to Everton, obviously. I know we've spoken about that before, but I suppose what I'm trying to get at here is the strategy. And there was a comment up earlier there previously about we need to get better at selling players as opposed to loaning them and waiting for their contracts to run down. And there's a lot of merit in that, but we haven't actually sold anyone for any money, from my memory serves me right, or for any significant money, I suppose, really. But we have loaned quite a lot of players. Wesley's gone on loan. Anwar's gone on loan. Matty Target's gone on loan. So there's Conor Horan's gone on loan. So there are people on loan. What's your views on that, Paddy?
I agree. I do agree. The likes, like, to anyone who regularly listens to me talk about Anwar El Ghazi, I would not lose any sleep if Anwar El Ghazi was sold, regardless of the fact he scored 10 goals last season. He doesn't have the stomach for the fight for me. Never has, never will. And if he goes to Everton and proves me wrong, so be it. But the likes of him should have been shipped out. Chances are they could still send Trezeguet to Turkey. I'd rather see a fee come in if that's the case. If he doesn't think Trez is up to it, get a fee for him. Still think Trez could do a bit of a job for us with the squad we have. If we were to pick up injuries around that part of the pitch, I reckon he could fill in. But other than that, the younger guys are fine with them, not selling them just yet. The likes of Louis Barry, the likes of Ken Kessler. But Matt Target baffles me. If you're going to let him go on loan, you probably should have kept him. That's what I was thinking. So if they had have done a loan to buy, I would have accepted it a little bit more maybe. But there you go. We'll just never know. But look, there's players hanging around that squad like a bad smell that probably need to go. And, it's going to be hard to shift them on if they're not getting any football and nobody can see them in the shop window.
I think the saving on wages, for me, is the big one, because we talk about transfer fees and we talk about, net spends and transfer and stuff like that. And I saw a tweet today, and Aston Villa have had a 2.4 million or 2.45 million, depending on what site you look at. They've had a modest net spend over the course of this season so far. And when you look at the players who've gone out, and when you look at the players who've come in, there's a marked difference in the amount of wages that we're spending on players. So sometimes the transfer spend, I think, you can balance out if the transfer spend balances out, you can still have a massive, a bigger outlay because, obviously we bought in, and I'll go back to the summer transfer window here when I talk about this. We were just talking about the loans and stuff like that from this transfer window. It is traditionally more difficult to sell players in January, and there are quite a lot of loans that happen. But when you go back to the summer transfer window, obviously we brought in Emi Buendia, we brought in Leon Bailey. Can't imagine any of them were paying for cheap money. We've re-signed Emi Martinez. Coutinho obviously is coming in for whatever amount. I know there was stuff mentioned at the time about how much he was earning. Luka Dean, people were saying that he wanted to double his wages from what he was at Everton. It was something like 160k a week.
Just before you gloss over it, didn't Coutinho take a decrease to come here?
But still, if you take a decrease from whatever he was on, 300 grand, even if he's on 150, 160 grand to come here, what I'm saying is Wesley wasn't on that. Freddie Gilbert wasn't on that. So the people that have gone out and loan, Matty Targett wasn't on that. So you could probably put Matty Targett, Jed Steer, Wesley, Gilbert, Keenan Davis, maybe Anwar El Ghazi. You could maybe bottle all those up together, and that will pay for a Coutinho and half a Luka Dean, in wages. So I suppose really it's the saving in wages is something I think that is from an FFP point of view is worth keeping in mind as well, that if you are going to bring in players, loaning out some players and getting the wages off the books potentially can help you in that way, shape or form as well, because realistically the transfer fees are one thing. And the way that they're structured, but the wages are a completely different beast, I suppose, as well. Especially when you're looking at operating capital and you're bringing people like Coutinho on loan. And who's to say, as I say, that Matt Targett doesn't have a stormer of a second half of the season for Newcastle, and we can sell him if we get the 18 million back or the 20 million or whatever back on him. Well, then that's a plus point. So I think loan is I'm not too dead down on the loan as opposed to transfer, but it is something that I suppose there must be some financial wizardry that comes around with it. And yes, they do run down their contracts and so on, but it's I just wonder where if the juice is worth the squeeze with regards to taking 4 or 5 million for them. I don't know. I don't know where the money men make the determination that if we send them out on loan, can they actually improve their value? By playing in the Premier League. If Anwar El Ghazi goes and scores 6 goals between now and the end of the season for Everton, is he worth more than if he used to sit in our bench for Aston Villa? So where is the actuarial kind of determination on that one? I'm not 100% sure.
I think with that one, sure. It's probably his wages that have put people off, because best of my knowledge, he's on decent wages. So that's what's probably put people off signing him over the last couple of years when he probably could have went.
Yeah. I think so too. Talking about other teams, Paddy, I mentioned earlier on there that of the 3 people who were sitting on the couch when I was watching Sky Sports News, and 2 of the 3 said Villa had the best window. Who do you think had the best window? It's okay to say Villa as well.
Well, I'm happy with our window. I'm just a bit baffled by today. If you were to ask me this question last night, I would say our window is 10 out of 10. Because it looked like we were going to sign Betancourt and we would have kept Matty Targett. And that's the 2 things that have made me scratch my head today. That Spurs came in and took him from under our nose. But to answer your question, yeah, I think I'm overly happy with our window. And while I haven't really been on top of things the last few days, Spurs, it seems, did pretty good business today. But for me, I'm very happy with our window, and I would probably say people have really opened their eyes to Aston Villa with the signings we made. And I'd go as far as saying as our biggest signing is the long-term contract of Emi Martinez. I think that's absolutely huge for us, for the stability and the future.
Courtney House. The long-term signing of Courtney House, Paddy. You mispronounced Courtney House there. You always do that.
Yeah.
You
I had a
No,
bit of a shudder there because somebody mentioned in the comments about Courtney House playing left back, and just go back to that day where he came on as a sub at left back. I think it was his debut, was it, at Wolves? Oh,
even I can't get on board with that one, as I say, and I'm the self-professed conductor of the Courtney House Boston bandwagon. I can't get on board with the left back for Courtney House, but it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one at left back, and I think, as I say, it is the question that people will be asking for sure. Seb actually makes a great point here. Do you know who did have the best transfer window? Bournemouth. Bournemouth did some super business today as well. Yeah, like Todd Cantwell for a song, Kiefer Moore, Cantwell, Nat Phillips, that guy Dembele from Huddersfield, Peterborough. So they did some serious business.
And kind of came out of nowhere. We were linked with him for a long time, weren't we?
We were. Define linked.
Loosely linked, but it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't as constant as a Rashika one, but it was constantly mentioned
Woodman as well. They got
They got who?
They got Freddie Woodman. Is it Freddie Woodman? I think his name is Freddie, the goalkeeper for Newcastle. Sub goalkeeper for Newcastle. Goalkeeper.
Lookman.
Is it Lookman? Woodman? I can't remember. The sub goalkeeper from so Lookman, I think it is. Seb says here. Yeah. Do you know who the best named player though that has been signed? And it's just, it only happened in the last hour. Is Brighton have signed Porto winger, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's going to be some crack to hear commentators have to say it. Benicio Baker Boite. Benicio Baker Boite, I think is how you pronounce it. But am I trying to say that? And Benicio Baker Boite running down the wing, crossed into Benicio Baker Boite. It's great. I'm looking forward to that. There's a massive amount of alliteration, and also you want to have your pop filter on your microphone with the amount of B's that are in there as well, because I don't know anything about him, I'm going to be honest. But Brighton have signed him on loan from Porto. But
I've just confused Woodman with Adebola Lookman, obviously.
It's okay. I can never give out to anybody for butchering names or confusing things, because I'm perpetually confused myself anyway. So it's all good. Just looking here, having a quick look to see that something hasn't dropped in the last few moments. Jaden Philogene-Bedes, we didn't even mention about his loan. A great loan to Stoke at his first start for Stoke there during the week, and played really well, hit the post. But he's going to have somebody that he's going to be able to supply bullets to in Josh Maja. Is that how you pronounce his name? From Bordeaux, was on loan, I think, at Fulham last season. And start off at Sunderland at some stage. Stoke have signed him on loan for the rest of the season from Bordeaux. Anything else in there? Carvalho to Liverpool is done. Fabio Carvalho, that is a super signing for them, considering how well thought of he is. Wow, yeah, that is they just keep on retooling at that top three position, and they're Diaz. Oh, Aston Villa have rejected 3 offers from Douglas Luiz, with the most recent offer made on transfer deadline day, says David Ornstein via Villa Report.
How could we sell him?
What?
We couldn't possibly sell him at the moment.
Oh God, imagine if we sold him. Yeah, I think I'd be melting down right now, I'll be honest with you, because we just about have what we have at the moment, specifically in that position.
Dean Henderson signed for Newcastle, apparently. On loan for the rest of the season.
Dean Henderson to Newcastle. Good signing for them. Although, goalkeeper wasn't their problem. Dubravka and Carl Darlow were grand. But then again, Dean Henderson is an English international, so there is that too.
As well. I just hate seeing Newcastle signing anybody.
Yeah, Douglas Luiz looks like Villa are going to tie him down to and Lou long-term contract as well, says Villa Report, and David Ornstein as well. So just 1 or 2 pieces on that. Yeah, good point actually as well. We were talking about Jaden Philogene-Bedes hitting the post and stuff. Keenan Davis 2-2 now, and Cameron Archer coming on, scoring a goal within 12 minutes of his debut for the Preston against the Baggies. So that's been fantastic. But I think that I think the team. I think Aston Villa have done the best business out of this transfer window. I think the players we've brought in have immeasurably made us better. Yes, do we still have the same weaknesses, arguably in the same areas that we had previously? I think that's quite. You could make that argument that while we've gotten better in some positions, we've stayed the same in others, and that's something that maybe needs to be looked at. And as I say, I think our squad depth will be tested over the next however many weeks. Was it 16 weeks that we still have, or 20 weeks that we still have to play in the league? So it's going to be an interesting time. Honourable mentions, I think, as I say, I really like Spurs business today. Much as it kills me to say it, I really like Spurs business today. I really like the business that actually, do you know what, Paddy? And Jesus, we're touching an hour. Crikey. Never thought that we get an hour out of this. I actually specifically said to Paddy, we'll do this one quickly because when we haven't signed anyone, I'm not really in the mood. But we're an hour in. And Paddy, talk to me about Leeds. I was blown away. Leeds have signed no one. And I was blown away. I thought that they would definitely sign somebody, but they haven't. And it's only something I realized today. That
you'd have to think that it's down to finances, because it's really, really strange that they haven't brought anybody in.
Can it be down to
I don't think they've let anybody out either. They've held off. Chelsea were trying to sign Rafinha, and they've held off that one. I'm sure everyone was sniffing around Phillips. So, yeah, it's a strange one.
I suppose, yeah, it's like they do have. Look, I suppose Bielsa has since he's taken over the team, even in the championship, he's like the likes of guys like Shackleton. He really likes Joe Gelhardt. Those types of guys, and they're like, essentially, why does it people say, like, they're like his ride and dies? When you have him in there, the likes of Tyler Roberts, inside there, and he's getting some results out of them, So fair play to him. I think it's an interesting one. That as I say, I really thought that they would sign somebody. I really thought they would sign one or two people, and just to kind of retool that, but they haven't really. They're giving opportunities to the likes of Lewis Bate, who they brought in during the summer, and as I say, Joe Gelhardt. Crescencio Somerville was somebody who was supposed to be going to Hamburg, which I thought was really surprising, because that was supposed to be an actual proper transfer. And Crescencio Somerville is somebody who is really, really well thought of. I'm open to correction on the proper transfer as opposed to loan, but that one would have been an eye opener for me. But look, he seems to be trusting his squad, and he seems to have who he needs. So it'd be interesting to see what Leeds, but they're. I think that they're playing worse than they actually are. They have played worse than they actually are in the opening part of this season. And when they get players back from injury, that we could see a different beast from Leeds again.
I've just seen one there that I missed earlier. Julian Alvarez.
Oh yeah, I meant to talk about him. All right, yeah.
That's another one that likes to sit on the bench. But
I don't think so.
He's gone back on loan. He's gone back on loan for the rest of the season. Yeah, that's a strange one.
He won't be sitting on any bench, because I can imagine that Mr. Sterling might end up in the continent during the summer, and then it'll be Alvarez being able to play both
business for 14 million. I think that could be one of the better signings in the long term.
Yeah.
What does it mean for Jack?
What does it mean for Jack? That's right. Well, I think I think that they probably that there's another question in that as well. That did they expect to lose Sterling at some stage? Maybe he wasn't going to sign his contract. I don't know if he has signed his contract, but it's an interesting one for them. It blows my mind every time I look at Sterling's age. He's only like 27, I think, and that is crazy. Like what he's done has been absolutely fantastic, and he's only 27 years of age. So if he does go to the continent, he could have another 10 years in him if he's like an Ashley Young type, So
he'll make a great career out there, diving all over the place. He'd be grand.
But it's fine. Look, hey, many people do it, and who knows? He might even sign on for Man City again. But it's as I say, it's one to look at. The people are saying about Arsenal as well in the transfer window. They didn't do much. They signed a trusty centre half, if you'll excuse my pun. They signed a guy called Trusty, He's gone back on loan to the Colorado Rapids, and he will,
Universe.
which is a super name, by the way, in itself. And he will be joining Arsenal on the 17th of July, I think, when the transfer, when the registration opens again. But they didn't do an awful lot of work, and they've lost, Aubameyang, gone to Barcelona. They loaned out. I thought they were bringing a striker, because now they only have Nketiah and Lacazette. And that's a bit threadbare, considering I thought that they might keep on to Florian Balogun. He's gone to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, another team with a super window for that league. Balogun and Aaron Connolly are two rapid signings for them. But they're short at striker, as well.
Haven't mentioned Christian Erickson signing for Benford as well.
Yes.
Fair play to him.
Yes.
Good to see him back playing football. You think when something like that happens, it's the end. So hopefully all his worries are behind him and he's able to play football and enjoy it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Success story, a feel-good story, and he's with a team whereby he can go in there and be the maestro of that team and really make it tick inside there, and it's nice. And obviously the Danish connections that team have as well is well documented. So that could be something that could be a start to something brilliant for Brentford. Going to obviously a team in the periphery of London, getting into the big time, but to be able to sign somebody like Christian Erickson your first year in the Premier League, I know, albeit with the circumstances attached, is just like, that's fairy tale stuff for Brentford fans, and hopefully it all pans out for him and for them, and still want them to finish below us, but hopefully they have fun finishing below us, if that makes sense. Guys, I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to finish it up on that. I never thought we'd get anywhere near an hour. We've talked some amount, and I suppose when you think about it, there was a lot to unpack in this as well. But it's been an interesting transfer window. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I think if there is appetite, and if you guys like it, or if you guys want to continue to do maybe features on players over the course of the season while we don't have any transfer window, so that we're ready for the transfer window, I'd like to continue doing it, because I think I'll miss it now after the last 4 weeks. But thanks a million for everybody for watching all the videos we've put out. Thanks a million for all your kind words. Thanks a million for all the comments. I love the discourse. If anyone feels that maybe I'm too harsh on them when I'm talking to here, don't take offense to it. I don't mean anything. I just have a limerick face. We can be pretty threatening sometimes when our faces get going, but I don't mean anything by it. The great news, I think, to come out of this transfer window, Paddy, is that I am going to be in Villa Park over the next coming weeks, and I cannot flipping wait. So that's probably the best thing to come out of the last few weeks. So if any of you guys are over there and I get to see you, give me a thumbs up. Come over, say hello. I'm going to be delighted to chat to you. I don't know. I'll definitely be over there for the Norwich game, and probably 2 more in between. But I think that's going to do us for today. Anything else, Paddy? No
news.
So. No news. That's it. I'm struggling. I'm wrecked tired. I'm just after looking at the clock there, and I was wondering why I was so tired. So, guys, thanks a million once again. I'm struggling to finish this podcast, and I need to shut up talking. But thanks a million. You've been legends all the way through the whole transfer window. We will be back with a Leeds preview, and that will be coming very soon. We're not playing Leeds. No, it's next Wednesday. Jesus, I'm looking at the clock there. It's next Wednesday. We'll be back over the weekend with a Leeds preview, and the dust will have settled on some transfers. Who knows? We might get something in the next 18 minutes before the window closes. And the Scottish window doesn't close till 12 o'clock. So just in case Glenn Kamara does find his way down, we might come back at 12 o'clock.
He can't come to us, but sure he can't.
Probably not. I don't know.
No, I don't think he can come to us after.
Offer sheets, Paddy. What is it about the offer sheet? Was with the Premier League office by X time. You know how many times?
17 minutes. I'm happy enough if that one doesn't happen. So leave it as it is. Exactly.
Right, guys, thanks a million. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a fantastic next few days of a bit of a simmer down from football, and we'll ramp it back up again for the Leeds game. You've been legends. Thanks a million, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.